The day the aliens came changed everything. Giant silver ships appeared in the sky above every major city on Earth. They hung silently, like polished mirrors reflecting the clouds below. No weapons fired. No invasion began. They simply waited. World leaders scrambled to respond. After 3 days of panic and preparation, humanity was ready for first contact. They chose a neutral meeting ground, a large field outside of Geneva, Switzerland. Frank Collins adjusted his uniform nervously. As a major in the United States Space Force and an expert in diplomatic security, he stood at attention behind the row of world leaders. Beside him, Dr. Lisa Warren checked her translation equipment one final time. "Do you think they'll be friendly?" Lisa whispered. Frank shrugged. "Let's hope so. Our missiles wouldn't even scratch their ships." A beam of light shot down from the hovering craft. When it faded, 7 beings stood on Earth's soil. 6 tall, slender aliens with blue-tinted skin flanked a central figure who wore elaborate robes covered in swirling patterns. Their eyes, 3 on each face, blinked independently as they surveyed the humans. The center alien stepped forward and spoke. A melodic series of clicks and whistles filled the air. Lisa's translator hummed, then produced words everyone could understand. "I am High Ambassador Skrull of the Galactic Council. We represent 53 spacefaring civilizations united in peace and prosperity. We have observed your world for some time and determined you are ready for initial contact." The Earth's Secretary General stepped forward. "We welcome you to Earth and hope for peaceful relations between our worlds." Skrull's upper eye narrowed. "Indeed, you have achieved sufficient technological advancement to warrant observation status. We classify you as a Class 4 developing world." Frank noticed the slight twitch in the alien's face. Was that amusement? "What does that classification mean?" asked the Secretary General. "It means you have achieved space travel but remain primitive in most regards," replied Skrull. "Your species will require at least 50 Earth years of observation before consideration for Council membership." Lisa frowned at the condescending tone, but remained silent. Later that day, at the formal reception, the aliens became more talkative after sampling Earth's food and drink. One of them, a scientist named Velopor, approached Frank and Lisa. "Your species has a most unusual history," Velopor said, the translator making his words sound almost cheerful. "So many wars. So much conflict." "We've had our troubles," Frank admitted, "but we've learned from them." Velopor made a chirping sound that the translator didn't catch. The other council members nearby all flexed their neck membranes, their version of laughter. "Forgive us," Skrull said, joining the conversation. "We find it quaint that you consider your violent tendencies as learning experiences. Most advanced species outgrow warfare entirely by your stage of development." Lisa stepped forward. "Our history has shaped who we are. We've learned to cooperate precisely because we understand conflict." "How charming," Skrull replied. "You defend your barbarism as wisdom." The council members flexed their neck membranes again. Frank felt his face grow hot with embarrassment and anger. "Perhaps one day you will understand true civilization," Skrull continued. "Your constant wars, your armies, your weapons, these are signs of your immaturity as a species." The mockery continued throughout the evening. The aliens shared stories of other primitive worlds they had discovered, comparing Earth unfavorably to each. They examined human military uniforms with the amused curiosity of adults looking at children playing war games. When the reception ended, Frank and Lisa walked back to their quarters in silence. "They think we're jokes," Frank finally said. "All our history, everything we've built, they see it as primitive child's play." Lisa nodded slowly. "They've forgotten something important, though." "What's that?" "Species that never face hardship don't learn to overcome it," she said, "and I have a feeling they might need that knowledge someday." Frank looked up at the alien ships glittering in the night sky. "For their sake, I hope they never do." Neither of them could have guessed how quickly that day would come. 6 months passed since first contact. The Council established an embassy in Geneva and shared some of their technologies with Earth. Medical breakthroughs healed diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. Clean energy systems reduced pollution. But the Council remained distant, treating humans like curious children. Frank Collins sat in his office reviewing security protocols when his phone rang. The Council rarely called directly. "Major Collins, your presence is requested at the embassy immediately," said a mechanical voice, the Council's translator. When Frank arrived, he found the embassy in chaos. Council members rushed through hallways, their usually calm demeanor replaced with frantic movements. Lisa Warren was already there, looking confused. "What's happening?" Frank asked. "I don't know. They called me 10 minutes ago," Lisa replied. High Ambassador Skrull approached them. For the first time, the alien looked worried. "We face an emergency," Skrull said. "A hostile species known as the Vrax has attacked one of our outposts near your solar system. They destroyed 3 defensive ships and killed everyone at the station." Frank straightened his back. "I'm sorry to hear that. How can we help?" "The Vrax are moving toward another outpost. Our nearest battle fleet is 2 weeks away." Skrull's eyes blinked rapidly. "We require assistance." Frank raised an eyebrow. "You want Earth's help? Your species has experience with warfare that we lack," Skrull admitted reluctantly. "The Council has enjoyed peace for over 2,000 years. We have defensive capabilities but limited tactical knowledge." Lisa and Frank exchanged glances. The same aliens who had mocked Earth's violent history now needed that experience. Within hours, Earth's leaders agreed to help. Colonel Jack Bennett, leader of an elite Special Forces team, was chosen to accompany the Council's defensive force. 20 human soldiers boarded a Council ship, bringing weapons and equipment. The journey took only 3 days using the Council's faster-than-light technology. When they arrived at the threatened outpost, they found a space station orbiting a small moon. The station's sensors had detected 5 Vrax ships approaching. Colonel Bennett studied the holographic display showing the Vrax fleet. "What's your usual defensive strategy?" he asked Varlon, the Council's defense coordinator. "We position our ships in a protective formation and engage when they come within range," Varlon replied. "A head-on battle." Bennett frowned. "How many ships do you have here?" 3 defenders, each with superior technology to the Vrax vessels. Bennett shook his head. "But they have 5 ships, and they've already destroyed 3 of yours at the last outpost." "Our technology is better," Varlon insisted. "Technology isn't everything in war," Bennett said. "We need a different approach." Over the next few hours, Bennett explained a simple ambush strategy. 2 Council ships would remain visible, appearing to defend the station. The third would hide behind the moon, waiting for the Vrax to commit to battle before attacking from behind. "This seems unnecessarily complicated," Varlon complained. "Trust me," Bennett said. "Surprise and positioning can overcome superior numbers." When the Vrax arrived, they did exactly what Bennett predicted. Seeing only 2 defenders, they pressed forward aggressively. The hidden Council ship emerged from behind the moon and attacked the Vrax fleet from behind. Caught between 2 forces, the Vrax ships struggled to respond. From the station, Frank and Lisa watched the battle unfold on monitors. "They're actually doing it," Lisa whispered as the Council ships executed the simple flanking maneuver. 3 Vrax ships were destroyed. The remaining 2 retreated quickly. When the Council ships returned to the station, the Council members were silent. Their previous mockery had disappeared. They looked at the humans with new eyes filled with surprise and the beginning of respect. "How did you know that would work?" Varlon asked Bennett. "It's a basic military tactic humans have used for thousands of years," Bennett replied calmly. "Sometimes the old ways are still effective." The Council members exchanged glances. The lessons were just beginning. News of the victory spread quickly through Council space. The defense of the outpost using human tactics was seen as a lucky success by many Council members. But the Vrax attacks continued. targeting supply ships and smaller stations. 2 weeks after the first battle, the Council summoned Dr. Olivia Simmons to their main defense center. As one of Earth's leading military historians, she was asked to explain human warfare strategies to Council commanders. Olivia stood before a group of blue-skinned aliens in a large meeting room aboard the Council's command ship. Their 3 eyes watched her with a mixture of doubt and curiosity. In human history, warfare evolved over thousands of years. Olivia began. When facing a stronger enemy, we developed different approaches than direct confrontation. She displayed images of ancient battles, showing how smaller forces defeated larger ones through clever tactics. "This is guerrilla warfare," she explained, pointing to a diagram. "Small, quick attacks followed by immediate retreat. The goal is to wear down the enemy over time, not win in a single fight." Commander Lirval raised a slender hand. "But this seems dishonorable. There is no clear battle line." Olivia smiled patiently. "In war, survival matters more than honor. The Vraks have more ships than you right now. You need to fight smarter, not just with better technology." Over the next few days, Olivia worked with Colonel Bennett to teach the Council warriors about ambushes, feints, and psychological warfare. Many Council members were uncomfortable with these concepts. "You want us to pretend to retreat, then attack when they pursue?" asked Lirval during one session. "This feels like deception." "It is deception," Bennett confirmed. "That's the point. War isn't fair. It's about winning while losing as little as possible." Meanwhile, Major Frank Collins led a different kind of mission. Intelligence showed that the Vraks had established a supply line to support their attacks. The Council planned to send 3 large warships to destroy it. "That's too obvious," Frank argued during the planning meeting. "The Vraks will see your ships coming from far away." "What do you suggest?" asked Scatrol, who now listened to human advice more willingly. "A small, fast strike team. 1 ship, modified to look like a civilian transport. Get close, hit hard, then disappear before they can respond." The Council reluctantly agreed. Frank joined a mixed team of humans and Council warriors on a disguised ship. They approached the Vraks supply vessels, looking like an ordinary merchant. "Hold position until we're within weapons range," Frank ordered. "Everyone stay calm." The Vraks ships ignored them, focusing on transferring cargo between vessels. When Frank's ship was close enough, they dropped their disguise shields and fired precisely at the supply ship's engines. Within minutes, 3 Vraks supply ships were disabled. The Human Council team placed explosive devices on key cargo containers and retreated before Vraks reinforcements arrived. When they returned to the Council command center, the mission was declared a complete success. For the first time, the Council leaders looked at the humans with genuine respect. Later that evening, Dr. Lisa Warren found Scatrol alone in the observation deck, staring at the stars. "You seem troubled, Ambassador," Lisa said. Scatrol turned slowly. "For 2,000 years, the Council has believed that advanced civilization meant outgrowing warfare. We thought peace was the natural state of the evolved species." "Peace is still worth striving for," Lisa offered. "Yes, but we were unprepared for those who don't share that belief." Scatrol's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. "Your species has been fighting throughout your entire history. You understand conflict in ways we have forgotten." "We've paid a high price for that knowledge," Lisa said quietly. "And now we need it." Scatrol looked back at the stars. "The Council has called for a special meeting tomorrow. We wish to formally request Earth's help in training our forces." Lisa nodded. "We'll help you. That's what allies do." "Allies?" Scatrol repeated the word slowly. "Yes, I believe that is what we are becoming." 1 month after the supply line attack, a new facility opened aboard the Council's largest space station. The room was filled with screens showing maps, battle formations, and historical images from Earth. Council researchers moved between workstations, studying data with intense focus. Senior Analyst Delcor led the research team. Tall even for a Council member, with pale blue skin that showed his age, Delcor had been a scholar of alien cultures for over 100 years. Now he had a new mission: understanding human warfare. "We need to study everything," Delcor told his team. "From ancient battles with spears to modern conflicts with advanced weapons. The humans have fought in deserts, forests, mountains, and oceans. They've mastered warfare in every environment." On the other side of the station, Colonel Bennett worked with Council soldiers in a large training area. He showed them how to move quietly, how to use cover, and how to set up defensive positions. "Always secure your flanks," Bennett explained to a group of blue-skinned warriors. "Never assume the enemy will attack from only one direction." The Council soldiers tried to follow his instructions, but centuries of peace had made them awkward in combat roles. They moved stiffly, uncomfortable with the aggressive postures Bennett demonstrated. "This will take time," Bennett told Frank Collins during their evening meal. "They think like scientists, not soldiers." Frank nodded. "Delcor's research team is the same way. They analyze our battles like they're studying weather patterns. They don't feel the fear or urgency of combat." "At least they're trying to learn," Bennett replied. In Delcor's research center, the Council analysts made surprising discoveries. They found that humans had developed thousands of different strategies for warfare, constantly adapting to new weapons and situations. Their military thinking evolved rapidly, Delcor explained to Scutrol during a progress report. When one side created a new weapon or tactic, the other side quickly developed countermeasures. "Like a competition," Scutrol observed. "Yes, but with deadly consequences," Delcor replied. "What's most remarkable is how they apply lessons from past conflicts to new situations." He showed Scutrol a comparison between ancient naval tactics and modern space warfare principles that Colonel Bennett had suggested. "See how the same flanking concept works in both scenarios. The humans understand positioning and timing in ways we never considered important." Scutrol studied the display thoughtfully. "Can we learn these skills quickly enough?" The Vraks continue to advance. "We're trying," Delcor said. "But there's something else." He hesitated. "Continue," Scutrol encouraged. "The humans don't just know warfare intellectually. They feel it. Their bodies produce chemicals, adrenaline, cortisol, that prepare them for conflict. Their hearts beat faster. Their senses sharpen. It's biological, not just cultural." Scutrol's three eyes widened slightly. "Are you suggesting we cannot fully adopt their methods?" "I'm suggesting it will be more difficult than we initially thought," Delcor answered carefully. Meanwhile, humans continued to arrive at the station. Military strategists, historians, and combat veterans came to teach the Council different aspects of warfare. Dr. Olivia Simmons worked with Delcor's team, explaining the psychological elements of conflict. "Fear is a weapon too," she told them. "Sometimes the threat of attack is more effective than the attack itself." The Council researchers recorded everything, creating a massive database of human military knowledge. They ran simulations based on historical Earth battles, trying to understand the principles behind the strategies. Late one night, Delcor found Scutrol staring at a simulation of an ancient Earth battle called Cannae, where a smaller force had surrounded and destroyed a larger one through clever positioning. "We've been fools," Scutrol said quietly. "We thought technology alone would protect us. We forgot that conflict requires more than advanced weapons." "We can learn," Delcor assured him. "But will we learn quickly enough?" Scutrol asked, watching as the simulated soldiers were encircled and defeated. "The Vraks grow bolder each day." As if answering his question, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. A voice announced, "Alert! Vrak's fleet detected approaching the Centauri outpost. All defense forces mobilize immediately." The true test of their learning was about to begin. The battle at Centauri outpost lasted 6 hours. Council ships, now using human tactics, managed to protect the outpost, but lost 2 vessels in the process. After the Vraks retreated, Council leaders gathered to discuss their next steps. During this meeting, Dr. Karen Miller, a human geneticist working with council medical teams, requested permission to speak. Karen was a quiet woman with sharp eyes and steady hands. She had been studying council physiology to help treat their wounded. "I've discovered something important," Karen said. "Something that might explain why the council struggles with warfare concepts." She displayed genetic data on the large screen. "When comparing council DNA to human DNA, I found unusual patterns. Your species shows signs of genetic modification, specifically in areas related to aggression and threat response." The room fell silent. Council members looked at each other uneasily. "What exactly are you suggesting?" Skrull asked. "I believe your ancestors deliberately modified your species to remove aggressive tendencies," Karen explained. "These modifications appear to be thousands of years old." Senior Council member Tralvik, one of the oldest aliens present, stood slowly. His blue skin had faded to almost white with age, and his movements were stiff. "The human is correct," Tralvik announced. "After the Great Devastation, our ancestors chose to modify our genetic structure to prevent future conflicts. This knowledge is not shared with younger council members, but it is true." Murmurs spread through the room. Many council members looked shocked. "We call it the peace modification," Tralvik continued. "It reduced our aggressive impulses and enhanced our cooperative tendencies. It was considered the path to true civilization." "You remove your ability to fight?" Colonel Bennett asked incredulously. "Not entirely," Tralvik clarified. "We maintain defensive capabilities, but we dampen the emotional and hormonal responses that drive warfare. Fear, rage, the desire to dominate. These were seen as primitive traits that led to suffering." Dr. Miller nodded. "That explains why you have trouble understanding certain military concepts. Your brains literally process threat and conflict differently than ours." Frank Collins, who had been listening quietly, leaned forward. "Is this why you mocked our history of warfare? Because you see it as a genetic flaw that you've overcome?" "Yes," Tralvik admitted. "We believe that any advanced species would naturally evolve beyond warfare. When we saw your violent history, we assumed you were primitive, genetically inferior. But we were wrong." Skrull added, "Your aggression coexists with compassion, creativity, and cooperation. You built civilizations while maintaining the ability to defend them." Delcor, who had been analyzing the genetic data, looked troubled. "This raises serious questions. Our modification may have made us vulnerable. We've been technologically stagnant in military development for millennia." "Can the modification be reversed?" asked Lurval. "It would take generations," Tralvik replied, "and many would oppose it. The peace modification is central to our identity as a civilization." Later that day, Karen Miller met with Frank, Lisa, and Colonel Bennett in a private room. "This changes everything," Frank said. "They can't think like warriors because they're literally designed not to." "It's both impressive and disturbing," Lisa commented. "They chose peace so completely that they rewrote their own nature." Bennett shook his head. "Noble idea, terrible timing. The Vraks don't care about their genetic modifications. They only see targets." "We need to adapt our teaching methods," Karen suggested. "Focus more on the logical aspects of warfare rather than trying to develop their combat instincts." Frank nodded. "We can work with this. They might not feel warfare the way we do, but they can understand the principles intellectually. And we can fight alongside them," Bennett added. "Cover their weaknesses while they learn." Outside the window, stars glittered in the darkness. Somewhere out there, the Vraks were planning their next attack. Time was running out, and humanity's greatest challenge wasn't teaching the Council how to fight. It was helping them overcome their own peaceful nature before it was too late. 2 months after the revelation about the peace modification, the Vraks launched their biggest attack yet. A fleet of 30 warships approached the Council's core worlds, threatening billions of lives across 5 planets. "They're moving faster than we expected," Skrull announced to the Emergency Council. "Our main defense fleet can intercept them, but the Vraks outnumber us." The council chamber erupted in worried discussions. Their ships had better technology, but in previous encounters, the Vracs had shown they could overcome this advantage with superior numbers and aggressive tactics. Admiral Steve Peterson stood quietly at the back of the room. As Earth's highest-ranking naval officer assigned to the Council, he had been studying space combat maneuvers for weeks. Now the Council turned to him. "Admiral Peterson, what do you suggest?" Skrull asked. Steve stepped forward, his weathered face serious. "Your current defense plan positions your ships in a standard protective formation in front of the planets. The Vracs will expect this." He gestured to the holographic display showing the approaching enemy fleet. "Instead, I recommend we adapt an old Earth naval tactic called a pincer movement." Using the holographic controls, Steve showed how Council ships could be positioned to appear weaker than they actually were, drawing the Vracs into a trap. Additional Council ships would hide behind nearby moons and asteroid fields, then attack the Vracs from multiple directions once they were committed to battle. "This formation is unnecessarily complex," objected one Council commander. "Simple defensive lines have served us for centuries." "Against opponents who think like you," Steve replied firmly. "The Vracs are predators. They attack perceived weakness. We can use that against them." After hours of debate, the Council reluctantly agreed to try Steve's strategy. Council ships moved into position, with their main fleet appearing smaller than it actually was. As predicted, the Vracs accelerated toward what they saw as an easy target. When the Vracs fleet committed to their attack run, Council ships emerged from their hiding places behind moons and asteroids. The Vracs suddenly found themselves under fire from 3 directions. From the command center, Steve watched alongside Skrull as the battle unfolded. The Vracs tried to regroup, but their formation had been broken. For the first time, Council ships were not just defending. They were actively controlling the battlefield. "It's working," Skrull said quietly, watching as Vrac ships were caught in the carefully planned crossfire. 7 Vrac ships were destroyed in the first assault. The others tried to retreat, but Council vessels had cut off their escape routes, another human tactic that seemed foreign to the Vracs. By the end of the battle, 15 Vrac ships had been destroyed. The rest fled in disarray. The Council had lost only 3 vessels, their smallest casualty count in any major engagement with the Vracs. News of the victory spread quickly through Council space. For the first time, people began to believe the Vracs could be defeated. In the aftermath, Steve found himself surrounded by Council officials, eager to learn more about Earth's naval warfare traditions. They no longer looked at him with condescension, but with respect and even admiration. Later that day, a group of Council scientists approached Delacour with an unexpected proposal. "We want to research reversing the peace modification," their spokesperson said. "Not for everyone, but for volunteers willing to serve in defense forces." Delacour looked troubled. "This goes against thousands of years of our civilization's development." "So does extinction," the scientist replied. "The humans have shown us that controlled aggression can coexist with advanced civilization." That evening, Skrull called an emergency meeting of the Council's highest leadership. The topic was controversial: whether to officially classify Earth as a strategic ally, a status never before granted to a species at Earth's technological level. "They're still primitive in many ways," argued one elder. "Their technology lags centuries behind ours. Yet they possess knowledge we desperately need," countered Skrull. "Knowledge that may save our civilization." The debate continued long into the night, while across Council space, people looked to the stars with new hope. The tide was beginning to turn. The vote was unanimous. For the first time in Council history, a developing world was classified as a Class 1 strategic ally. Earth had bypassed all intermediate classifications, jumping from Class 4 to the highest status in less than a year. When Skrull announced the decision to the human representatives, there was a moment of stunned silence. Then cheers erupted from the Earth team. "This alliance will benefit both our peoples," Skrull declared. "Council technology will be shared freely with Earth, and human military advisors will be assigned to each council world. Frank Collins, now promoted to colonel, could hardly believe how much had changed. Just 8 months ago, they were laughing at us, he whispered to Lisa Warren. They're not laughing anymore, she replied with a small smile. The new alliance quickly produced results. Dr. William Harris, a weapons developer from Earth, led a joint research team that combined human tactical thinking with council technology. Within weeks, they created new defensive systems specifically designed to counter Vrak's attack patterns. The Vraks rely on speed and overwhelming numbers, William explained during a demonstration. So we've developed weapons that target their engines first, then their weapons systems. Council engineers watched in amazement as the new targeting systems performed 3 times better than their previous designs in simulations. We never considered prioritizing targets this way, admitted one council engineer. Our weapons were designed to destroy ships completely, not disable specific systems. In human warfare, sometimes stopping an enemy is more effective than destroying them, William replied, especially when they outnumber you. On Earth, changes were happening too. Council technology revolutionized medicine, energy production, and communication systems. Council scientists helped clean Earth's polluted oceans and atmosphere. Both civilizations were growing stronger together. But not everyone welcomed these changes. A faction within the council, calling themselves traditional evolutionists, argued that adopting human warfare methods corrupted their civilization's peaceful nature. We are becoming what we once feared, their leader, council member Jivra, declared in a public message. Violence begets violence. These humans are changing us in dangerous ways. Similar concerns arose on Earth. Some humans worried that advanced alien technology might be used for conquest rather than peace. They feared Earth would become too dependent on the Council. These tensions grew as the war with the Vraks continued. Though Council forces were now winning most engagements, the conflict spread to more systems. The Vraks, recognizing the new threat posed by human tactics, became more cautious and unpredictable. During this difficult time, Frank Collins was sent to the Council homeworld as Earth's chief diplomatic and military liaison. He met with Scatrol in the ancient council chamber, a vast hall with walls showing the history of their civilization. Beautiful, Frank said, looking at the detailed images. 30,000 years of peace, Scatrol replied. Until now. Frank noticed how tired the ambassador looked. You're worried about more than just the Vraks, aren't you? Scatrol nodded slowly. The war is changing us. Some fear we are losing our identity, becoming more like humans, more like the Vraks. Change doesn't mean losing who you are, Frank said. Humans have changed throughout our history, but we remain human. Perhaps, Scatrol sounded unconvinced. But there is another concern. As we continue to adopt your military methods, some council members worry about what happens after the Vraks are defeated. You're afraid we might become a threat? Frank asked, surprised. Not I, Scatrol clarified. But others question whether a species with your history and our technology might someday turn against us. Frank stared at the ancient images of peace that surrounded them. I can't promise what every human will do in the future. But I know this, without each other, neither of us may have a future at all. Scatrol placed a long-fingered hand on Frank's shoulder. Then we must ensure our alliance survives both the war and the peace that follows. Outside the chamber, training continued. Human instructors worked with council soldiers, teaching them to fight in ways their ancestors had genetically engineered themselves to forget. The greatest test of their new skills was still to come. 1 year after first contact, Earth hosted the signing of the Galactic Defense Accord. Representatives from all council worlds gathered in Geneva, the same city where aliens had first set foot on Earth. The open field where the council ships had landed was now transformed into a memorial garden. At its center stood a statue showing a human hand and a council hand reaching toward each other. Lieutenant Sharon Taylor watched as dignitaries arrived for the ceremony. At 32, Sharon had become the first human to command a mixed human council battle group. Her leadership during the defense of the Proxima colony had earned her respect throughout Council space. Inside the large meeting hall, Council representatives mingled with Earth leaders. The atmosphere was friendly but formal. A year ago, these same aliens had mocked humanity. Now they sought Earth's guidance. High Commander Relnar, the Council's military leader, approached Sharon. "Your battle group will depart tomorrow." Sharon nodded. "Final mission against the Vrax homeworld. We believe they're ready to negotiate after losing their main fleet." "A negotiated peace," Relnar said thoughtfully. "My ancestors would be pleased. Violence leading back to peace." The ceremony began with speeches from both human and council leaders. Skrull, now promoted to Grand Ambassador, spoke of how the Alliance had changed both civilizations. "We came to Earth believing we were superior," Skrull admitted to the assembly. "We saw humans as primitive because of their history of conflict. Now we understand that this history gave them strength we had forgotten." Colonel Frank Collins followed with Earth's response. "Humans have always been warriors, but we have also been dreamers, builders, and explorers. From the Council, we've learned that advanced technology must serve peace as well as defense. Together, we are stronger than either of us alone." After the speeches, Sharon met with her command team to review final plans for their mission. Her second-in-command, Council Officer Velmar, had once been skeptical of human tactics. Now he helped explain flanking maneuvers to new Council recruits. "The Vrax will expect a direct approach," Sharon explained, pointing to the star map. "Instead, we'll divide our forces and attack from multiple vectors. Like your Earth General Hannibal at Cannae," Velmar said, showing how well he had studied human military history. Sharon smiled. "Exactly. A strategy over 2,000 years old that still works today." That evening, as celebration fireworks lit up the sky over Geneva, two council elders watched from a quiet balcony. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when we first detected their radio signals?" asked Elder Zontai. Elder Pravak shook his head slowly. "Never. I voted against contact, you know. I believed they were too violent, too unpredictable. And now? Now I understand what we lost when our ancestors modified our genetics," Pravak replied. "They removed aggression, but also dampened our ability to defend ourselves. They forgot that the universe contains predators as well as builders." "The humans remember," Zontai said. "Yes, they carry what we engineered away. Their barbaric history prepared them to be guardians in ways we could not." The next morning, Sharon's battle group departed Earth. Council military academies across the galaxy were filled with alien students learning human tactics. Research teams worked to combine the best aspects of both civilizations. 3 weeks later, the Vrax surrendered. Faced with the combined might of human strategy and Council technology, they agreed to return to their home territory and end all hostilities. When news of the victory reached Earth, celebrations erupted worldwide. Humanity had gone from being mocked by the stars to becoming teachers of the galaxy. In his office in Geneva, Frank Collins looked at a picture taken during first contact. Council members laughing as they examined human military uniforms. Beside it sat a newer image. Council soldiers proudly standing alongside human instructors. "Quite a year," Lisa Warren said, entering his office. Frank nodded. "They came to study us as primitives. Now they study our wars, not with mockery, but with respect." "What happens next?" Lisa asked. "We build something new together," Frank replied, looking up at the stars visible through his window. "Something neither of us could have created alone." In the vast darkness of space, human and council ships patrolled side by side, guardians of a peace that required remembering how to fight and when not to.